I'm not a sickly person. I was working in television a long time ago, and I would have like 3 days or 4 days where I'm weak, editing, shooting, and then the rest of the week I'd be partying. I was 25, I was living the life, so I was really enjoying my life, and I wouldn't get sick at all for that whole year. So I was never a sickly person. And in 2008, the start of the year, all of a sudden, I get tonsillitis in January, ear infection in February. I had a pneumonia on March. So, it was happening one after the other. And so when I was getting myself a chest...
Did you lose your weight? Did you lose your appetite?
I wasn't. I was just getting sick every month. And
did you suspect it? Even at the back of your mind?
I didn't, honestly. I just had myself tested because it was like, I'm coming in every day, I'm just going to have it for my peace of mind. I had myself tested. I come from a very liberal family, so me and my family, they know about my situation, they knew about my active sex life, and they were always reminding me to use a condom, but I didn't.
You didn't?
Okay. I didn't.
Okay, very important.
And then afterwards, when I found out that, when I took the test, I really was just doing it for the sake of. Then they called me and they said, we have to give you the results. And I was like, just tell it to me over the phone. Don't make me go all the way to the clinic. I know it's negative anyway. And they insisted because it's policy. They have to open it in front of you.
Which hospital was this?
I was in a clinic. I was in a clinic, Healthway. This was back in 2000.
Okay.
Yeah. So I went to the clinic and the doctor opened and they said it was positive.
So of course you were scared.
Honestly, back in 2008, before knowing what I know now, I thought that once you have HIV, once you've been diagnosed, that's it. You're going to be gone in 3 months, 4 months. All of our TV shows, all of our movies give you that narrative. So I was just expecting that, okay, I was just resigned. It's just
really, but
calm.
even 10 years ago, there were people, there were advocates before you were an advocate who were already saying, no, you can, there is such a thing as people living with HIV.
From my experience, anyone who has no direct relation or personal relationship with the virus, they don't know anything about it. And the moment it was when I became infected, when I became a PLHIV, person living with HIV, that's when my family started to find out all of these things. Nobody knew about the treatments. We had all forgotten that Magic Johnson is still alive. All of these things we didn't know, and then all my friends just started to realize that none of them have taken the test. Unless you know someone personally, HIV is not a real thing for you.
Dr. Tayag, how typical is the story of Wanggo? I mean, how he found out, his fear of...
Each person living with HIV will have their own story, and we just heard Wanggo's story. There'll be others who are not as lucky as Wanggo. They would find out when they are in the end stages of AIDS.
Why is this? Because people don't want to be diagnosed, or there is low awareness?
We try to get information through surveys and ask people why they, for example, why they don't use condoms, why don't they get tested, and some of the answers would include that they fear about finding out. And others would say they don't have access to these services, and so therefore there's no opportunity for them to get tested. But for those who get tested, we have another barrier. For example, they don't go back for their results because that's the most critical part. For HIV, for the information of those watching this particular episode, there are stages for HIV, okay? So it's HIV infection. You remain asymptomatic for many years. They say on the average it's 10 years before you progress into the end stages, AIDS. But depending on the virus that circulates, because it has different what we call clades, in the Philippines, experts would report to us that 10 years has been shortened to 5 years. That's something that is of a big concern for the Department of Health.
Why did this happen?
The virus changes, the circulating virus, because although it's an HIV virus, there are different types, there are different labs. We're actually able to map which part of the world it came from. We're able to, yes, we have the technology For example, the one that's circulating now came from Thailand, but
The stronger strain.
the strain that actually had the 10 years window where you are asymptomatic, it's now have to 5 years.
Which is, where did that
Yes.
strain come from?
Okay, so now here's the situation. You practice unsafe sex. Okay, so you decide to get tested. Okay, you don't know now. The test will not tell you in which spectrum are you. Are you near AIDS or just at the beginning? That's why it is good behavior that if you indulge yourself in unsafe sex practices, we strongly recommend, despite the stigma, despite the discrimination, that you should have the courage to get tested. And then you have to get the results. These are private, these are confidential. You'll get counseling before any test is done. And we're waiting for Congress and Senate to pass the amended AIDS law so that more will be tested.
I think the most one of the important things that we discovered, maybe even from my story, is that the sooner you find out, the better. I mean, the only reason why I had to pay for 13 meds and not all of that is covered by PhilHealth is because I discovered late. But the earlier you find out, the less chances you have of getting opportunistic infections, and you can just manage it with just the ARVs. So early detection is really important for the quality of life that you're going to have.